Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Today's episode is going to be titled, Has Talking Politics Ever Not Started an Argument? Politics is one of those topics that sooner or later we all find ourselves discussing, whether it's at a family gathering, in an online forum, or with friends. The subject tends to come up sometimes unexpectedly. And while having political discussions can be insightful, they can also be incredibly challenging, especially when opinions differ. The reality is that politics is deeply personal to many people. It ties into beliefs, values, and life experiences, making it a sensitive subject. While it is entirely possible for people to hold opposing political views and still get along, navigating these discussions requires tact, patience, and a bit of luck. More often than not, when politics are brought up, tensions rise. If you're speaking with someone you don't know well, like a stranger at a social event or an online acquaintance, you have no way of predicting how they'll react to disagreement. The unpredictability of these conversations is what makes them so risky. This isn't to say that political discussions should be avoided altogether. There are ways to talk about politics without turning the conversation into an argument, but even the most mindful and respectful approach doesn't guarantee a positive outcome. Some people are simply unwilling to hear opposing views. No matter how carefully you frame your words, there's always a chance that someone will take offense, become defensive, or escalate the discussion into hostility. I've personally experienced this firsthand. I once had a friend I met online, and we would chat every now and then. Our conversations often veered into political territory, including topics like abortion. While we had differing opinions, I never saw our discussions as arguments, just exchanges of perspectives. However, she didn't see it that way. To her, disagreement equaled conflict, and she began to take our conversations personally. Eventually, our friendship fell apart because she couldn't separate the discussion from our personal connection. This wasn't an isolated incident. Another time, I had a friend who was very passionate about transgender rights. While I expressed support, I didn't align with her stance to the extent she wanted. That difference was enough for her to end our friendship. She couldn't accept that I had a nuanced perspective rather than a complete alignment with her beliefs. This experience reinforced something I've observed time and time again. Some friendships can withstand political differences, but others crumble under the weight of disagreement. Friendships built on genuine respect can survive political differences. There are people who can debate opposing views, accept disagreements, and still value each other. But for some, politics isn't just a topic, it's a deal breaker. Some people don't want to be around those who think differently, and that's their choice. However, I believe that true friendship should be built on mutual respect, not political alignment. If a friend truly values you, a difference in opinion on policy or ideology shouldn't erase everything else you share. At the same time, I understand why people are passionate about these discussions. Politics affects real lives, shaping laws, rights, and societal norms. For some, these aren't just opinions, they're deeply held convictions that influence their daily existence. That's why political conversations often carry so much weight. But even with that in mind, it's important to recognize that no two people will ever agree on everything. Expecting complete alignment in beliefs is unrealistic. This is why I think approaching political conversations with caution is wise. It's not about avoiding the topic altogether, but rather being mindful of when, where, and with whom you engage in these discussions. If you're talking politics with someone, be prepared for the possibility of disagreement and potential conflict. Whether it's a stranger, a casual acquaintance, or even a close friend, you never know how they might react when confronted with differing views. That being said, talking about politics does serve a purpose. It reveals how people handle disagreement. If someone can't engage in a civil discussion without getting angry or cutting ties, that says a lot about their maturity and ability to navigate relationships. In that sense, political conversations can be a litmus test for understanding someone's character. I once heard something interesting from a podcaster named Michael Malice. He suggested that if you want to gauge someone's political stance, ask them whether they believe some people are inherently better than others. Their answer, according to him, can hint at their political alignment. While this might be a bit of an oversimplification, it speaks to the idea that people's values and political beliefs often surface in subtle ways. Testing how people respond to political questions can be insightful, but there's a limit. Pushing too hard can feel manipulative or confrontational, and not everyone appreciates being put on the spot. Instead, political discussions should be approached with a sense of curiosity rather than an intent to categorize or challenge. The goal should be understanding, not winning an argument. At the end of the day, politics is just one part of who we are. It shouldn't define our relationships, but unfortunately, it often does. While some people can respectfully disagree and move on, others see political differences as insurmountable obstacles. That's why discussing politics can feel like a gamble. You never know whether it will lead to a deeper understanding or an irreparable rift. Despite my experiences with friendships ending over politics, I still believe in the importance of open dialogue. But I also believe in choosing those conversations wisely. It's essential to recognize when a discussion is productive and when it's just leading to unnecessary conflict. Not every debate is worth having, and not every relationship should be defined by political views. Ultimately, the choice is yours. If you enjoy discussing politics and are willing to deal with the risks that come with it, go for it. But if you'd rather avoid unnecessary tension, there's no shame in steering clear. Freedom means having the ability to speak your mind, but it also means knowing when it's best to keep certain opinions to yourself. So, if you find yourself in a political discussion, pay attention to how the other person reacts. Are they open to differing views, or do they immediately go on the defensive? Can they separate debate from personal connection? Their response might just tell you everything you need to know about whether that conversation or even that relationship is worth continuing, which it should be, like I said earlier. Anyways, thank you for listening to this episode of the Moore's October Rants. Signing out. Have a good one, guys. Goodbye for now.